It's an honor and pleasure to be here today with Rabbi Dr. Mois Navon, who is one of the founding engineers of Mobileye, where he designed the EyeQ, spelled EyeQ, family of SoC, system on a chip, the chip powering the autonomous vehicle revolution. Mois is also an ordained rabbi who has published numerous articles on halakha, on Jewish law and lore, working at the intersection of Torah U'Madda, Torah and science. He received his PhD from the Department of Jewish Philosophy at Bar Ilan University, wherein his dissertation applies Jewish philosophy to address the ethical questions arising in the field of artificial intelligence. Thank you so much for taking time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you were at the cutting edge of so many issues of critical importance today, and the conversation I want to have today briefly is about transhumanism.
Okay.
So to start with some of the philosophical and theological foundations, can you just share for those unfamiliar, what is transhumanism and how does it challenge or align with the traditional Jewish view of the human being being created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of God?
Right. So, I mean, that's a great question. It's a huge, huge topic. Transhumanism basically is a conjunction of transitional human, meaning basically integrating technology to make us better, faster, smarter, improving the human condition. So that's, I mean, in a nutshell, there's so many ethical issues that come out of this, but.
Great. So from a Jewish perspective, is there a limit to how much we should try to improve or enhance the human body and mind through technology? And where does enhancement cross the line into hubris, if at all?
Great. So that's the crux of the matter, is that we believe in technology. We believe in improving the human condition. We call it tikkun olam. And really, in a sense, we've never really thought about any kinds of limitations because we haven't had the kinds of capacities that we do today that are really challenging the borders of what is okay and what is not okay, right? I mean, whether it's biological or genetic engineering and germline engineering. And on the one hand, we want to be able to do things to make people healthier, but we don't want to change humanity. And so there's a lot of discussions here. And that's where transhumanism comes into play because of not only just genetically, but now we're talking about technologies. We can put in chips in your brain.
Wow. So on some of the halachic and ethical considerations, building off what you said, how do you see halacha responding to interventions like brain-computer interfaces, genetic editing, or life extension technologies? Do we have a halachic framework for these kind of new realities?
Yeah, so I believe that definitely we have a halachic framework. I happen to be one of those people that believes that the Torah is eternal and that the Torah can answer everything, not necessarily answer like, here, look, this is what the Torah says about autonomous vehicles, but rather there's a framework to begin to think about these things. And it's not just like secular philosophers bring intuition. My intuition says, no, we gain our intuitions from 3,000 years of Torah thinking about dilemmas like this, and we can apply it. And if we don't get an explicit answer, we certainly get a framework within which we can think about and approach these issues.
So in a generality, like what would that framework be?
I mean, so I would say that if we're talking about transhumanism, we're talking about putting chips in your brain. So where does what exactly, like you said, what is the line? Is it okay to give people a memory chip? And so now I don't even have to look online. I just have I have a memory chip of all the Torah and all the Talmud or whatever it is. So I don't really see anything problematic with that. You're accessing data and that's okay. Where does it start to become a problem is behavioral. So on the one hand, like, let's say I'm very angry and I haven't been able to get over my anger, so I can have an anger control chip. So now that's interesting. But then now we start getting into problems of, having a moral chip that's going to make all of my moral decisions and make sure that I'm a perfectly moral being. That seems to cross the line.
Is part of the conversation about what can't be altered, what human faculty makes us b'tselem Elokim?
Yeah.
But there's such a machloket. I mean, there's like 10 different views on that.
That's true.
Where do you even begin? I mean, so you give up cognition and maybe pick up the affective realm.
Right. Okay. So I mean, I've definitely thought about this, and I think that cognition, we want to make people smarter. That's fine. We want to add to them, and as long as we haven't replaced the human being, and now you don't think, right? That's then a problem.
Yeah.
You know, that's the same thing with ChatGPT, really. I tell people we should be using it as an assistant and not as a replacement. You know, if what you do is write papers, ChatGPT should not be writing your paper. It should be your editor.
But what I thought I heard you saying was that it's the behavioral realm, the midot,
yes,
that you're more concerned about than the cognitive realm.
Yes. So I sort of played off of this idea about how far can we go with the cognitive, but you're 100% right. My biggest concern is behavioral.
That we're moral beings.
Exactly. And the whole point that we are here is Hakol b'yedei shamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. It's a Gemara in Brachot that says that everything is in the hands of heaven, except for the fear of heaven. Yeah. Fear of heaven basically means moral choice, right? I mean, it's the fact that you chose to drink a Coke or a Pepsi or a 7-Up, that's really all kinds of influences that were determined. You didn't really make this free choice. What the free choice you had was, were you going to pay for it or were you going to steal it? That's free choice. Now, if I plug a chip in, so now I have a perfectly moral society, which is really wonderful, no criminals. On the other hand, I have zombies. And I mean, this was the dilemma that God had. I mean, there's all kinds of midrashim to talk about why did you create man, and there's a machloka Beit Shammai Beit Hillel. Should he have created man or not created man?
Okay, so we just read Parshat Bereshit, and I don't know if Adam, if the Adam who's the first human is the one in Gan Eden or the one out of Gan Eden. But let's assume for a moment it's the one who leaves Gan Eden. Okay. So part of what makes him human is being mortal. So do you believe the pursuit of immortality through technology contradicts the Jewish value of accepting mortality and finitude?
So that's also a great question, which, yes, the next phase of transhumanism is what they call posthumanism, where we upload ourselves and we live forever in the Amazon-supported cloud as opposed to the divinely-supported cloud. And so there is some kind of an idea to this that, well, we could be fulfilling prophecy by making ourselves immortal, doing what God wants, right? Or the same idea that the Gemara says that in the end of days, God will slaughter the Yetzer Hara, and there will be a being without a Yetzer Hara. I mean, so you could say that these moral chips are doing that. We're fulfilling God's will. And so there's a whole actually field that it's called apocalyptic AI. AI coming to fulfill the apocalyptic prophecies of the Bible. I think, first of all, in terms of slaughtering the Yetzer Hara, that we should leave that up to God when He decides to do that. And in terms of immortality, I definitely think that we should be developing technologies that make us live longer and better. However, in terms of being immortal, I don't think that uploading ourselves to the cloud is the kind of immortality that the Torah had in mind.
Although, when I think of, it's been a while since I thought about this, Maimonidean views of Olam Haba, Rambam's views of the afterlife, and kind of the active intellect, and what is the eternal being. It is kind of an intellectual.
True. That's true. But I still believe that I believe that we have a soul that's more spiritual, and also, what are you going to do when the power goes out?
Right. That's great. So, okay. But that old bad joke we've heard a million times where there's a guy drowning and the boat comes. No, God will save me. No, God will save me. I think of that like, who's to say that the Messianic era isn't to be brought through scientists?
Right. I agree with you 100%. And I think that we should be developing technology. I'm just saying that it seems to me that for us to now say, okay, we're going to implant a moral control chip in every baby that's born. Right.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with you. Yeah, 100% agree with you. Yeah. Okay, so continuing on moral responsibility and justice, transhumanist technologies often risk deepening social inequality. How should Jewish ethics guide us in ensuring fair access and avoiding exploitation?
Right. So that's a great question, and you're right that, I mean, so we're talking about technologies that are going to enhance people, but those technologies obviously cost money, and so then it's the people with the money. There's a great book called Clara and the Sun that talks about this idea of the future being controlled by the wealthy, and basically having this huge gap where there's people who can't put a cognition enhancer in their head, and so that leaves everybody out who doesn't have that. The only answer that I would give is the answer that Elon Musk explains about technology expanding to the point where people don't work, he says you don't have to worry because there's going to be such abundance and things will be so cheap. And so that people you will be able to get what you need without even having to work. And then he says, really what's amazing, he says, is the real and true problem of humanity is how to find meaning if you don't work.
Right.
And so he's already said this years ago, and he's been preceded by other thinkers in this field.
Right.
We may be able to fund everybody to do whatever you want. Unfortunately, not everybody's going to use their time wisely.
Well, a nice Jewish boy named Karl Marx believed what makes us human is our creative capacity for work. The truth is, you could read that from Parsha Bereshit also.
Also from Sarav Soloveitchik.
That's right. Yes.
The essence of Tselem Elokim is our creativity.
Yes. Right. That being a religious person is not just confined to the base medrash, the learning center. It's also in the workplace, it's society.
Absolutely.
So picking up on the point of moral choice, could the drive for enhancement lead to a new form of eugenics? How can Jewish moral teachings help us resist this kind of slippery slope here?
Yeah. So, you're right that eugenics anyway is already a big problem because, we're talking about that we can do so many things and make designer babies. And so now this is really like positive eugenics as opposed to the negative ones that led to the Holocaust. I think that, again, if you look at the way Judaism approaches technology and technological development, and in fact, we have the answer in this week's Parsha of Noach. So Noach, why was Noach chosen? So Noach, I believe, was chosen for one simple reason. He was the first engineer. What happened was, if you look at the Psukim, God last week cursed Adam and said, the earth is cursed for you, you will work it be'itzavon. That word appears only 5 times in the whole Torah. It was the curse of Adam, and it's what Noach undid. That Noach came, his name is Noach because he brought nechama, he brought comfort to humanity and removed this itzavon. Says it straight in the text. And Rashi and the Radak, they say, what exactly did he do? He invented the plow. And so people could stop digging with their hands and being hunter-gatherers and spending 24/7 trying to feed themselves. And the plow historically was the trigger of all of technology throughout human history. That's the first, what they call great trigger of change, was the plow, which means to say, God, if he wanted man to work be'itzavon, he wouldn't have picked the guy who undid the curse. God is very much in favor of us getting back to the Garden of Eden.
Very nice.
So I think this is the kind of framework that we need to look at. It's technology for the benefit of man.
Right.
And that's what we really need to focus on because, that technology can be used for a lot of bad stuff.
Right. That's a real chidush. Well, speaking of technology and bad stuff, I don't know if we want to go here because it's probably too far afield, but maybe you want to reflect for a minute about the use of AI in the Gaza war. This is a case where weapons are neither good nor bad, we might say. Depends who's controlling them, I guess, right? And this has been the most advanced form of warfare we've ever had. I don't know if there's something you've researched or.
I'm familiar. I've written a paper on autonomous weapon systems, and there's a lot of philosophers talking about banning them because they feel that it's an insult to human dignity to have a machine decide who lives and who dies.
Right.
So I wrote a whole paper on this from the Jewish perspective, and in short, Judaism believes that there's the ethics of peacetime and there's the ethics of wartime, and so there are different approaches, and human dignity is very different in the marketplace than it is on the battlefield.
Right.
So I believe that for sure, I personally believe that Israel's application of technology has saved lives as opposed to killed people indiscriminately that our enemies are doing.
Right. Okay, very interesting. So moving to the messianic and eschatological, some transhumanists speak of achieving a post-human, as you touched on, or even like God-like status. How do you see that in contrast to Jewish conceptions of redemption in Yimei HaMashiach?
Right. So, I mean, we kind of touched on that in the sense that, if you have a moral chip, so then that's slaughtering the Yetzer Hara, which is messianic. And, if we take the Ramban's view of the end of days, we're going to be in some kind of other refined bodies. He takes a different approach to Techiyat HaMeitim. The Rambam says, we all come back to bodies, we live a while, and then we're gone, and we live as souls. Yeah. The Ramban says we come back into refined bodies. He doesn't exactly define it. So you could play that with a technological robotic body. I mean, I don't personally believe that that's it, but you could go there.
Right. Now, given your role in the self-driving car industry,
yes,
what's your sense of the global trends on that? Is that going to take over?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have no doubt, for one very simple reason. The World Health Organization puts the number at 1.25 million people are killed in road accidents every year. It's over 1,000 people a day. Yeah. There's more than 10 to 50,000 people injured every day on the face of the earth because of the number one factor for accidents, human beings. So if we can pull the driver out, yes, autonomous vehicles will get in an accident here and there. More when there's still people in. If it's only autonomous vehicles, it's going to be very rare because these machines are all talking to each other all the time. The
question is whether the power of the lobby of the insurance industry is going to block it because maybe they want accidents.
Right. So absolutely. The insurance industry is $1 trillion industry. The body part industry is $1 trillion industry. There's so many. You don't understand how many things
people who benefit off tragedy, unfortunately. Okay, so last question for you. What advice would you give to young Jews who are excited about working in AI, biotech, transhumanist fields? How can they approach this work through a lens of Torah and ethical responsibility?
So I teach a class on ethics in AI to engineers, and I absolutely believe in Rav Soloveitchik's model of Adam 1 and Adam 2. We just read there's 2 chapters of Adam's creation.
Majesty and humility.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what happens is that the majesty part, right? The Adam 1 to go out and conquer the world. We definitely believe that. And Rav Soloveitchik says if you deny that, so then you're rejecting God's creation. On the other hand, you have the humility or the spiritual Adam 2, and the two need to be integrated. And so like when I teach engineers, that's what I teach them. I don't say, oh, you should just go learn Torah all day. You should integrate that. You should frame your technology. That's what it's all about. It's about bringing values to frame the technology which is helping humanity.
Right. And I mean, the Torah we can learn on the next level because of technology. I think of the Bar Ilan project only a few decades ago. Now it's Faria or whatever else we use. I mean, the access to Torah itself.
For sure.
Okay, friends, I hope you will look up the writings and teachings of Dr. Mois Navon and invite him to your community. Just a fascinating scholar on the front lines of these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.